Hi there, it's Kelly Resendez with the Power Up Your Life podcast, and we had the most amazing conversation with Laura Powers, who is a TV and media personality, award-winning screenwriter, actress, author, host of the Healing Powers podcast, bringing wellness tips to people around the world, and one of the top-ranked shows as well. She's been featured on The Weakest Link. She actually won the Ron Burgundy podcast, NBC, ABC, Fox, the CW, and more. She is a sought-after psychic medium. Holy moly. She just blows me away every time I'm with her, helping visionary leaders align with intuition and purpose. She has 8 published books and a vibrant media presence, and she inspires audiences through storytelling, spiritual insight, and creative empowerment. So welcome, Laura, to the Power Up Your Life podcast. Welcome, everyone, to the Power Up Your Life podcast. I am Kelly Resendez, coming to you solo today without my partner, Mandy, but we are so excited to bring you the Laura Powers. Not only is she an amazing friend and somebody that I've had an opportunity to travel the world with, she's also just a leader in the wellness and spirituality space. And I would love for you, just Laura, number one, welcome, and to share a little bit about your journey and what you do.
Sure. So I grew up in a family of traveling musicians. So that was my early start in France. Moved to the United States as a girl, and then grew up with my mom originally being a single mom, and my sister. We had, I was basically kind of an outsider in outsiders because I didn't speak English, moved to the United States, and then I was in ESL with everyone else who was a Spanish speaker. So always feeling kind of a little bit like a fish out of water, but I think that really served me in a lot of ways. And then I went through my life and had initially a very traditional path in government and politics, and had a spiritual awakening and realized that wasn't the path that I was really meant to be on, and switched to being a psychic medium. Surprising many, many people,
because it's just a normal trajectory.
Right? Totally. Yeah. And, I think a lot of times we go through lives and do the things that we think we're supposed to do, right? Like, this is what you do to be successful. And I kind of checked all the boxes, and then my life fell apart. And that's what triggered that big life change for me, was like, everything that I thought I was supposed to do isn't working for me. My life's a mess. I'm getting divorced. I'm sick. I'm unemployed. Every life area was a mess. And then I just felt this spiritual calling. I started to take classes as a psychic medium, really to get my life together too, just because I was like, clearly something's off. And through the process, people started to say, wow, you're really good at this. And then I just became very clear as I got deeper into it that this was opening up for me as a path. And then it also reopened my creative access and abilities. And so now I do work as a psychic medium, and then almost everything in entertainment. I host, I act, I model, I sing, I do comedy. And I do feel that we as spiritual beings are really here to be creators, right? And we're also here to be in and express joy. And if you're not doing that, something's off. Like, we do not have to have these heavy, overly serious lives of struggle. And I feel like that's a lot of what my message is now is, be in your joy, be in your peace, be in your creativity. And if you don't feel like you can, then let's make some changes to make that happen for you.
Yeah, absolutely beautiful. With that said, like, if we really look at the statistics of women that are reporting being stressed, having imposter syndrome, overthinking, and a lot of guilt, how do you move somebody to this place that you're in, right? It seems like it would be so far away. So if I'm a listener and I'm an entrepreneur and I'm like, Laura doesn't understand, I've got all these things, and yet you run so many different businesses and you're literally creating at all times. Like, tell them some actionable steps that they could take to maybe try to move the needle on reducing the stress, reducing some of that guilt, so that they can experience this joy like you do.
Oh, thank you. Well, I think there's a couple of different ways to go about it. And I believe in approaching that from both the spiritual aspect as well as like practical hands-on things you can do to change things. So the first thing is, if you're out of spiritual alignment, you will be stressed. It's like your soul is stressed, right? Your soul is like, this isn't right. Something's not right here, right? So that's the first thing, is looking at like, what is it that I'm working on or doing that is really out of alignment with me as a person? And that's a really big thing. And sometimes that can feel overwhelming. But if the thing is, if you don't do that, sometimes something big happens to make you do that. Like that's what happened with
Ooh,
me. I could
yeah.
no longer work in the area that I've been working. Like it got blocked for me.
Yeah.
So if you've been struggling and like the thing you were doing isn't working anymore, or you're dealing with a serious illness, you know, there's something probably that's being called and showing up for you as out of alignment. So also, I feel to share there's something called shaman sickness. And shaman sickness is when you get sick because you're not doing your soul purpose.
Ooh.
And that energy gets trapped in your body and it manifests as physical illness. So I feel like this is a huge one. Like I never heard of this before. So there's that, like figuring out like where are you out of spiritual alignment? And that's something I help people with a lot. Like, I don't know what's wrong. Something's wrong. I'm trying to figure this out. Right.
Yep.
And then the other piece is I love the art of little things. There's something called the art of Kaizen, which is a Japanese approach, which is like
Yeah.
sometimes the little baby steps, the little things you do actually move the needle a lot. Right. So rather than making these big drastic, I have to do this, you know, oh my God, I need to lose 50 pounds, or I need to like, you know, completely remodel my house right now. Like just do focus on one thing. And once you integrate that, then you make another small change. Right. So
Yeah.
maybe I'm having a hard time getting off the couch right now. I just feel so overwhelmed. Can I just like watch TV and like walk in place for 10 minutes today? Like, you know, whatever that is for you, just do what feels within reach. Because if we sometimes try to do too much at once, we go into overwhelm and shut down.
Right.
So just, so both trying to figure out like, where am I out of alignment that I feel so exhausted, and then making small changes. And then the other thing is energetic and emotional boundaries. So most women are trying to do and be all to everybody. And that is a losing battle. Like it's literally impossible. And you have to choose yourself first. You really do. You have to make time for yourself. And I do find that a lot of people get really stressed when they're not doing something creative, having that creative space for themselves. So I even do, knowing what I know, sometimes I'm like, I'm feeling overwhelmed or stressed or whatever. And it's like, oh my God, I need to just go write for an hour or something like that.
Oh, that's amazing. I mean, so much to unpack there. Number one, I think what you're saying is if you're experiencing stress or some of these lower level emotions like shame, guilt, you know, imposter syndrome, that your soul might be out of alignment and that you're not meant to be that way. So I think for anyone listening, just really seeking the resources and having a vision that there's a different way is powerful, like super powerful. The second part was really around purpose. Now, as you and I were growing up and others, like that wasn't a conversation that our parents really had because they were just coming from different economies where like relationships were about mutual contribution and other things. And now society and life has evolved so much that we do have this opportunity. Can you define a little bit more about what you mean by purpose? Because this word gets thrown around, and you know, if you and I experience life from a life happens for us, and so we always see it as the you know, basically the uncovering of even more of our soul's purpose. But for the person that's like, Laura, I've got to pay my bills, I've got kids to feed and soccer cleats to buy and all these other things, then they're like, who has time for purpose? Like, define it a little bit more so that somebody might believe that they can simultaneously still create an awesome life experience and stay in tune with their purpose.
Sure. So your purpose is essentially what your soul came here to do, right? So on a deep level, it's not a lot to do with what logically we think or even what society says is the thing we're here to do. It's really this deep inner aspect to do with our soul specifically. And every person's purpose is different, right? So a lot of times the purpose doesn't make sense on a logical level. And one thing I want to really hit home for people is that if it's your purpose, it will be practical for you. And by that, I mean, we can get into the logical sort of trap of this doesn't make sense. How on earth would this be possible? And if it's what your soul came here to do, it's absolutely 100% possible and supported. So in my case, like mental thought of I'm here in politics and government. Like, how am I going to be a psychic medium? And then literally, like, immediately put in the newspaper with like not even submitting to news,
Yeah.
like, because this soul, all my soul team is like, yes, this is, she's starting to take steps towards it. Like, you
Wow.
get the support. And the bigger your purpose, the bigger your spiritual support team. That's another thing. So
Yeah.
I remember thinking, like, how am I going to do this? First of all, it's totally out of my practical experience. And also we have to remember we have a lot of soul experience in past lives and things that we might not know about. So maybe something makes a lot of sense on a past life level, but it doesn't fit our consciousness in this lifetime yet until we've
Yeah.
sort of integrated it. And
Yep.
then so I remember thinking, how am I going to do this? Like, I felt the guidance to reach 1 million people. And at the time I was like, I just started my email. I was podcasting 14 years ago and no one knew what a podcast was. Like, how on earth am I going to do this? Like, immediately get it in the newspaper, start
Yeah.
to interview big guests in my podcast, like immediately.
Yeah.
I have videos with millions of views now. It's like, it seemed like such a pie in the sky. Like, how on earth did that happen? And then it does. It happened pretty fast,
Yeah.
actually. So whatever
Yeah.
that is for you, just know that if it's spiritually aligned, you are supported. It doesn't matter whether it makes sense or not, right? And then
Oh,
the other thing you brought up specifically with imposter syndrome that I want to mention is a lot of times our thoughts are not our thoughts. And I know that sounds like a funny thing to say, but there's a lot of people out there that are very telepathic. And if you're one of those people that has like a running thought line through your mind all day, you're probably highly telepathic. And what that means is you're picking up on stuff from outside of you all the time.
yeah.
And then you have to question, is this mine? So I remember reading the book A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle. And there's a
One of my
really important,
favorites.
it's a great book. And it was such a like light bulb moment for me because he says, you are not your thoughts in there. That's really one of the key tenets. And you're not. So if you can take a step back and when you have those imposter syndrome thoughts or thoughts that are just not loving and positive period and not think, oh, that's me or that's mine, that
Right.
really helps because then you don't have to take that on. So imagine
Yeah.
if like everything that you heard with your ears, with your physical ears, you thought of as yours. How horrible would that be? Like someone yelling racial epithets or cursing at someone and you're like, what if you thought that was you? But that's what it's like with your thoughts if you're telepathic, right?
Wow.
So suddenly creating a filter of like, oh, I'm hearing that in my mind. That doesn't mean that that's me. I don't have to take ownership of that. And
Yeah.
when I had that realization, that was a huge shift for me because I'm highly telepathic. That's a lot of how I do my work. And I would take all that on and then also be very confused because I felt like I was erratic or why am I so, up and down all the time? When I learned that that's basically something coming in and I can learn to have an energy boundary and say, oh, not mine, and send that back to wherever it is that it's
Wow.
coming from.
Yeah. 100%. Wow. That's so powerful. And I think that, when we're present, right, the thoughts aren't running the show. But most people in entrepreneurship they really are letting their brain kind of dictate their life experience. And so what you're suggesting is like start to see those as separate. One of the strategies that I would really recommend is to not embody like I have imposter syndrome or I have this or I
Yeah.
have that. It's just, you know what? I have thoughts that come up that challenge where I am. So, if you're ever feeling stuck, that's one thing that we notice along the journey where somebody starts to feel overwhelmed or stuck in their business or their life. What strategies do you recommend? You talked about creativity earlier. That's probably one of them. But what strategies do you recommend to somebody that really is trying to get unstuck?
Sure. Well, one of the first things is breath and just making sure you're breathing deeply and taking a moment just to pause is often so powerful. I interviewed a man who wrote a book on like actual biblical translations of all things, and one of the things he talked about was how in the early text the word spirit was perhaps mistranslated. It really should have been breath. And when you think about that, like the breath is the avenue through which the spirit is in the body. So one of the things a lot of people do when they're stressed out is they unconsciously hold their breath. It's like a freeze approach, right? So fight, flight, freeze, fawn. And so if I'm stressed and I don't choose, some people unconsciously like, And then they literally cut off the access to the very thing that is going to be the most helpful for them in that moment. Because then you don't breathe, you get a cortisol response. It's kind of like a cascade of, downward spiral kind of stuff. So just pausing, breathing. I love Hertz meditation tracks. And by that, I mean different audio tracks that are using various Hertz frequencies. So you can find one for peace, for calm, for joy, for whatever it is. They're all over the space on Spotify, YouTube, a guided meditation. I have several that are out there on Insight Timer for free. I have a 30-day meditation program. There's so many things for free now, which is amazing. But just pausing, breathing. And then if you have physical obstruction to your breath, that can also be an issue. Yeah. Like literally, I just got the psychic message not long ago that if you don't have enough breath, it's going to be hard to manifest. So if you have a physical issue, there's a huge issue. This is a complex issue, by the way, because now when a lot of people are not breastfed, it literally changes your palate and your airway. The act of suckling, I mean, this is such a wild thing, but literally changes the shape of everything internally and makes it more narrow. Right. So there's a lot of adults out there that have not enough airway literally to support the amount of breath that they need. So when I say work on your breath, it may mean that you need some support. And if you need a reference for someone to help you with that kind of stuff, I can give that. And then actively taking the time to make sure you're not holding your breath unconsciously, taking the time to breathe deeply. It's amazing how just doing that, even for a few minutes, can sort of energetically reset and get us out of a cortisol state.
Yeah, absolutely. And I consider myself a bit of a woo-woo translator. So a lot of the things that I do are super rooted in neuroscience, and people don't realize just the thought of taking that breath, shuts off your visual cortex, putting less pressure on your brain so that you can actually embody more presence and not be in that state of fight or flight and feel like you've got to do something. So this has been absolutely a fantastic interview. I wish we could chat all day, but how can our listeners, support you? What is one resource, connection, or how do we get in touch with you to really support you? Or if somebody's listening that wants to, maybe take advantage of your services?
Sure. So I love getting new listeners on my podcast, which is Healing Powers Podcast. It's on all the major podcast platforms. So if you feel called, I've been podcasting for 14 years, amazing guests on there. So that's a great way to connect and support me. Also, feel free to reach out if you feel called to either work with me directly. I do work with a select number of clients one-on-one, or have me on as a speaker, podcast guest, etc. And then, just follow your intuition and your joy. I mean, literally, I believe that the world is a place full of this vibrational frequency. And when we shift our frequency, we literally help the world. So do whatever it is that is your calling, in your peace, in your joy. And as you do that, you literally serve the planet. So yeah, that's great.
I love it. And what's next for you? You've already done all these amazing things. What's next on this big?
Oh yeah. And before my spirit guides are like, make sure to give them your website. I almost forgot. It's healingpowers.net if you want to reach out to me. I have gotten the spiritual call to reach a billion people. So just like before, it was 1 million people. So that's what I'm aiming to do. And I do it now through my psychic spiritual work, through my podcast, through TV, through comedy. I'm doing a lot more comedy and singing these days. So just helping people find their joy, and we'll see where that goes. You just never know what doors open. So who knows? But I put it out to spirit, like whatever is supporting that mission and my own joy, then I'm up for it.
I love it. Well, Laura, thank you so much for being a guest on the Power Up Your Life podcast. We'll make sure that we put all of our contact information in the show notes. And thank you all for listening. Make sure you subscribe, give us a testimonial, share it with your friends, etc. Just thank you again for joining the Power Up Your Life podcast, brought to you by GoBundance Women. If you are looking for a network of ambitious females that are going to help you support and scale your business without sacrifice, look no further. Check it out, and we'll see you on the next episode. Thank you.